Today on the CTV News at 5, a Southern Alberta funeral home operator loses his license for at least 2 years. Plus, how Canada's new loonies and toonies are costing the local vending industry. And work is finally underway again on Lethbridge's downtown atrium building.
CTV News with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. A Lethbridge funeral home director has lost his license for at least the next 2 years. The Alberta Funeral Services Regulatory Board decision not to renew Ralph Zettner's license comes 4 months after he admitted to billing the government for services he never provided. Kayla Carr reports.
In January 2011, Ralph Zettner and his wife Faith were both charged with 6 counts of fraud and indignity to a human body. The charges were laid after police investigated complaints from a former employee. A year later, the charges against his wife were withdrawn, and Zettner pled guilty to 1 count of fraud, admitting he billed the government for scattering or burying ashes of homeless people, but didn't actually do it or inflated the costs. Last month, he was handed a conditional discharge with probation. Now, the Alberta Funeral Services Regulatory Board has decided to not renew his license and ban Zettner from submitting an application for renewal until March 2014. In their decision, they said, the board determined that Mr. Zettner's actions breached the Alberta Funeral Services Code of Conduct and had authority to refuse to renew Mr. Zettner's licenses. Without a license, Zettner will not be allowed to enter into any funeral services contracts or arrange or direct funeral or memorial services. He will also not be allowed to embalm any bodies. The decision doesn't affect the services Cornerstone Funeral Home provides.
Cornerstone will continue to operate. My license is the only one in jeopardy.
Zettner says he is considering appealing the board's decision.
As much as I would like to close this chapter of my life, I really need to explore all my options.
Zettner says it's been a difficult time for he and his family, adding he wouldn't have been able to get through the past 16 months without the overwhelming support from his family, friends, and the community.
We are very thankful for the wealth of experience and the licensed funeral directors that have stepped forward to help us through this process. Including my wife, my sons, who are all licensed funeral directors as well, have stepped forward to help us. We would like to thank the thousands of families that have stood by us and prayed for us and supported us through this time.
Zettner says whatever happens, he's prepared to make adjustments and move forward with his life. Kayla Carr, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Zettner will have 30 days from the time that the board handed down their decision to appeal it. Cornerstone is able to stay open because other staff have their operating licenses. Well, Dory, kind of a gray, damp start to the month of May.
Yeah, it is, and it's all got to do with this trough of low pressure that was over us yesterday and kind of migrated to the northeast and then came in contact with an area of high pressure and it settled back down. And we even said yesterday that it was going to recede back into southern Alberta, and that's certainly what's happened today. And we're kind of stuck on this pattern for a while, but I'll tell you how long in just a couple of minutes.
Sounds good. Thanks, Dory. Well, as floodwaters continue to recede in Kimberley, BC, a water quality advisory has been issued. The advisory is in effect for all of Kimberley and Marysville. The quality of the Mark Creek water supply is currently considered fair, and that means only those with weakened immune systems, the elderly and children, need to boil their water. There is, however, a boil water advisory for all residents who use the Matthew Creek water supply. This includes the Kimberley Golf Course, Riverside Campground, Riverbend Lane, Riverbend Road, River Ridge Way, and Tamarack Lane areas. Last week's flooding came from the melting of snowpack in the mountains, and there is concern that it may not be over as there's still a lot of snowpack left. Owners of coin-operated vending machines, laundromats, and car washes are making adjustments to accommodate the new slimmed-down version of the Loonie and Toonie. The Canadian Mint expects to save about $16 million a year by making $1 and $2 coins with steel instead of nickel. But as Terry Vaux reports, the change is already being felt by some business operators.
If you've been to a car wash lately, you may have already noticed that some of the coin-operated machines won't recognize new loonies and toonies.
We have had a few customers complaining about the new toonies, that they just keep circulating through the machine and they have to come in for other coin, which is, to them, it is a hassle.
Ashley Hansen works at the Gas King on 12th Avenue South. She says she has to exchange new coins with older loonies and toonies or else print off a car wash code for customers.
They do get rather frustrated when they come in noticing they keep trying to put this toonie in and it doesn't do anything.
Businesses with video lottery terminals, vending machines, laundromats will have to have at least some of their machines recalibrated. Rose Rossi is general manager at Bully Sport and Entertainment Center. She says it's a cost of doing business.
AGLC usually keeps us quite on top of things. It's basically their equipment. So any conversions and things like that, they usually prepare us for, like the $100 bills, $50 bills.
Many VLT machines don't even take coins anymore. They use tickets that can be transferred between machines. But coins are still used in many places, including city parking meters. All of them will have to be reprogrammed to accept the new coins.
We were notified by our manufacturer that the Mint was going to be changing the coin composition for loonies and toonies. And because of that, the City of Lethbridge had purchased what is called coin attribute files. And we're going to be updating all of our parking meters with the coin attribute files over the next few weeks.
The city says it's a fairly easy process to change all the parking meters. They say it takes only about 5 seconds to download the software in each one of these units, but there are about 16,000 parking meters in the downtown core. So far, the city says it hasn't noticed any increase in the number of complaints that it's getting from customers. Terry Vogt, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Now, the vending industry is preparing for another big hit. Later this year, the new polymer-based $20 bills will hit the market, and that will require the retooling of every change machine and ATM to virtually every self-checkout in the country. It was back to school for Alberta's new members of the Legislative Assembly today. Rookie MLAs who won their seat during the April 23rd provincial election are being put through their paces at the legislature. MLA school is where procedures of the House are explained to the 38 new members, and the new lot of MLAs, most of them from Southern Alberta, will be sworn in May 15th, with the session expected to start the following week. Meanwhile, rallies and marches took place around the world as workers mark May Day. It's also known as International Workers' Day. The 1st of May is a chance for employees to assert their rights. And here in Canada, a big march took place outside Parliament Hill, but it was more of a protest over the thousands of jobs being lost because of federal budget cuts. And some of those jobs being cut are right here in Southern Alberta. At least 8 Parks Canada positions are being axed in Waterton. Over 100 workers across Alberta are losing their jobs with Parks Canada. Jobs of a few hundred more people are under review, and they could have their hours shortened. A work crew has started cleaning up the old atrium building site, which is now being proposed for a retail commercial office complex in downtown Lethbridge. The site has remained unchanged for about 30 years since the original development for the atrium property fell through. The current owner is planning to reinforce the concrete with steel and then build a 3-story building with retail on the ground floor, office levels on the top 2. The contractor says cleanup should be completed by the middle of the month, and they expect construction to begin by the 3rd week in May, once the project has been completed and approved. Well, about 100 city residents in South Lethbridge will be without power starting tomorrow morning. The planned power outage will affect those living between 20th and 27th Street South and 22nd and 23rd Avenue South. It's expected to take up to 8 hours as crews work to upgrade overhead power lines. And a Lethbridge resident has been chosen to receive Alberta's highest honor. Robert Hiranaka is one of 8 people selected for the Alberta Order of Excellence. He's being recognized for funding and developing the Nikiyoko Japanese Gardens, and he is also a respected member of the scientific community in the area of animal nutrition. Hiranaka is also recognized as an ambassador for the University of Lethbridge. He has served on the U of L Senate and also as Chancellor. Hiranaka will be invested into the Alberta Order of Excellence at a ceremony in Edmonton October 17th. A Fort Macleod landmark will celebrate its centennial next month, but its board of directors says it'll need some help if it hopes to be around for another 100 years. The Empress Theatre staged its very first show June 29, 1912, and since then it's been home to countless live stage productions, films, concerts, and political forums. The Empress Centennial Fund is nearing the halfway mark of its goal of $500,000. The Rotary Club handed over a check for $10,000 this afternoon to help the cause. The building is in dire need of a new roof, seats need fixing, and other projects to bring the building up to new building codes.
It's quite a phenomenal thing that it's been here for 100 years. It's structurally sound. I always think of the numbers of people that have laughed and cried and gotten upset at a political rally, just the number of people that have come in and enjoyed being human here. And I think that it's a testament to the town and for their support over 100 years that we can keep something like this in such good shape. And I think it's just very important that we carry on that tradition.
The Empress has already received funding from both the federal and provincial government, and committee members are now calling on the corporate community to lend their supports. It's the largest equine expo in North America, and this year it was held in Alberta. The main event features hundreds of exhibitors, demonstrations, and clinics. With more, here's this week's edition of Farm TV.
There are more horses in Alberta than any other province in Canada, which means there are also a lot of horse enthusiasts. Over 42,000 of them took in this year's main event, held in Red Deer, Alberta, April 27th to 29th.
Well, it is basically 3 days of equine education. It's all about horses. We have 15 clinicians this year, and they're doing presentations on everything from saddle fitting to liberty training, trick training, and then the usuals, the Western pleasure, the barrel racing, the jumping, the dressage, gaited horses, horsemanship.
The event features a large equine-only trade show with over 240 booths, as well as the clinics and other presentations. The main event is the largest equine expo in Canada. We asked Gail how they got started.
We used to attend every horse event we possibly could, and then we found that if you ride Western pleasure, you don't really know anything about dressage. So we started expanding our viewpoint a little bit and thought, it'd be really fun if we all got together, because it's all about horses. It's all about the horse. That's what it really is.
This year was the 6th time for the Red Deer Show, but they also organized another show in British Columbia.
Farm TV is brought to you by DA Building Systems.
And to the markets today, where there are a lot of up arrows for our dollar, as well as the TSX and Dow Jones.